Welcome to the Phil and the Kid podcast. I'm Phil Gardner.
And I'm Spiro Briselis.
And today we're talking about why invest in real estate and Butterbeer.
Diving right in. What's up, everybody?
Wagwan. No, we're not recording that. That wasn't really the... No.
I think we could add this in. I think it's
stays.
going in. I'm the editor. This is all in the podcast. This is how we're starting up.
I'm cutting Spiro's entire segment out of the audio version.
The audio version could... Never mind. I'm going to try to keep this as PG as possible.
Yeah. No, it's okay. My buddy mentioned that we were tagged as an explicit podcast, and we weren't explicit enough yet.
Yeah.
For someone that he's like, you guys don't actually need to be explicit on your podcast, like the little logo thing, because we're not like complete fucking assholes yet.
It's true.
But I think we're warming up to it.
My girlfriend actually said, oh, you guys were a little bit too explicit into that. I say, fuck you. She's going to hate that
Yikes.
one. I don't think I'm going to have a girlfriend
anymore. We having some couch sleepings.
Anyways.
So, I'm here with a realtor, clearly.
I'm a realtor.
Yep. New Phil and the Kid branded. Oh, wait, no, not this one. This is just the Spiro branded stuff.
Yeah, this is my brand. The Phil and the Kids. You didn't want to do this. You were too scared.
I feel like he's a little bit of a douche. I mean, comment down below if he's, you know.
Oh my God, don't
say that. A little bit of a... Please, God. I want to see the comments.
Oh, man. All our 40 followers are
This will tell us who actually watches the show.
This will all my friends will make it through 2 minutes, hopefully.
See, and that's if they get here, then
they're going to comment on me being a douche.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because they know you're the best.
Mm-hmm.
So, aside from douchebaggy realtors, what's going on? What have you been up to this week, Mr. Realtor?
Well, this week I actually held my meetup event. I spoke about it in the first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I held another one this week. It went really, really well again. It was even better than the first one. The first one we went to CIBC and they sort of helped us out there. But this time I wanted to do it solo. So we did it at the office. It was great. We had a great turnout. A lot of people came and everybody was super interested. That's what I really liked. Everybody was really into it, asking questions and engaging. So it made it way better. So when you're talking to people, it's like talking to grade 3 class and everybody's just sitting there staring out the window,
just listening or just not listening.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. Everybody was really into it.
That's good.
And it made it a really good time. Spoke about the BRRRR process. Nice. Different investment tips, what to look for in properties, the easy hacks like flooring and paint and wall placements, adding rooms, what to stay away from, big projects like terrible roofs. Kind of sometimes you don't want to take on that risk unless you are into that risk.
Yeah.
And also if the price is right, it all comes down to that the B in the BRRRR process, buying the property.
I feel like you should maybe explain a little bit for those that don't know what very high level what is the BRRRR process.
BRRRR process is practically what we do in Toronto, and I mean if you watch Bigger Pockets and other real estate podcasts or read into real estate investment books, that's pretty much the strategy that they all use. They might call it something different, but BRRRR stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So the repeat part is where you reap the reward in the end. And that all comes down to that initial B, that buying. That's where you make all your money. And that's where you can turn a project from good to great or from great to good. But both are good. At the end of the day, there's an analogy they use out Bigger Pockets, which is you don't try to hit a home run every time. You try to get on base.
Yes.
If you get on base, it's perfect. You hit that single, double, that's really good. And sometimes you're going to make great contact and hit a home run. So that B, that initial B, is the most important part, and that's what I stressed at our meetup. It was interesting because a lot of them I've never heard of this before, and there's a couple who are very familiar with it. So it reinforced them and their knowledge of real estate, and the others it introduced them to this whole new world and whole new concept of investing.
Yeah, for those that don't know about the idea of potentially refinancing a property to pull out the funds that you put in and forced a little bit of value in during your renovations, let's say. And then leveraging that to do another property so quickly after. I remember first hearing about it, it was like mind blowing. Like to me, why would I do any other strategy, right? But that's a whole podcast in its own, and I'm sure we'll get there in the near future.
Yeah, we could talk about that now, but let's wait a couple episodes. Kind of talk about more of the basics before we dive into the
a little bit more in advanced
nitty gritty. Yeah, but yeah, so that's what the meetup is. I like to just I'll take people through each step. So I start with what's your first step? As we both know, a client's first step is to get pre-approved. You know, you can't start looking for properties if you don't know
what's your budget,
what you're looking for. Yeah, it's just a huge waste of time for realtors and yourself.
Yep.
So I that's what I advise them to do is save some money, get pre-approved. Once you get that, you know your budget, you know what you're looking for, and then going forward, the process of buying and so on and so on. Yeah. Talk about realtors too a little bit, what to look for in a realtor, and who you want to work with. That's another thing we spoke on it in the first episode a little bit. They're different realtors do different things, and they offer different benefits and have different backgrounds. As we've stated, we are mainly in the investing industry, so we're really good at that. That's why we like to work with investors, and that's why they like to work with us. Like you were saying, how many people just came up to you saying that they like the services that you offer.
Oh yeah, that's it. I mean, it was quite a few. Just given that it's a totally niche service, right? We're not your everyday agent, and we have a different background that focuses on finance, economics, investments, those types of things. It allows us to provide a lot of a different value to our clients, and which in the case of an investor is the value they're looking for, right?
That's actually a question that came up. Somebody said, "What's in this for you?" Because they kept asking me, "What's the catch at the event?" Most events they go to, they either charge or they're like, "Come to our seminar, that's $10,000, or sign up for our $500 a month plan, and we'll help you get there." And they were kind of fed up with that, so I think they were all skeptical when they came to my event. So they kept asking, "What's in this for you? What do we have to pay you?"
How do you make money for doing all this extra work?
Yes,
right?
and that's what I told them. This is just extra work for myself. I'm getting better at public speaking. That's something I like to do. I get to teach people something that I believe in, which is, at the end of the day, what I love to do as well. And also, I could gain a new client or two. And the clients that we gain aren't one-offs. They're
gonna long term. Yes. I mean, it's a quality relationship, right? I would again, personally, this is just me, one agent speaking, but I would rather have a very strong relationship with, let's call it 10 to 20 investor clients that I'm going to be doing repeat business with, people that I would go out and have a beer with, kind of thing, as opposed to a very limited relationship with the hundreds and thousands of different people that are going to be doing one listing or one purchase every 10, 20 years with you, right?
It's a whole different
model.
model.
Deeper trust and relationship with your clients this way.
Yeah, a lot of our clients right now are very close to us. I mean, one of the attendees at my event, I had a long discussion with him. Really nice guy, came from India, and you can tell he's going to be very successful. He knew what he was talking about, did a lot of research, and is continuously learning. And he was really into it. I put up goal setting. So I started off the meeting with people setting their goals, 20 years, 1 year, 1 month, 1 week.
Gotcha.
It's the best way to start anything. Your goal is to be in the NHL or NBA.
Yeah,
you have to start with, that's your goal. Okay, how are you going to get there? I need to train 5 times this week or whatever it is. Same goes with real estate. So my 20-year goal was 20 properties.
Right.
And he was like, I want to up that tenfold. I want to get as many as possible. And I was like, I like the way you think.
Yeah.
I had to keep it at 20
10x
because
goals.
Some people think 20 properties in 20 years, you're crazy. I could barely afford 1 in 20 years or 2. And some people think like he did, where that's nothing. So it's about, I think, knowledge. The more you do it, when you open your eyes to it, that's the big thing, is opening your eyes to it, seeing how a deal's done, which we will get to in another episode, breaking it down into deep detail. This one we might skim a little bit of it just as a primer, but we'll dive into deeper detail as we go.
Cool.
So yeah, so the meetup went really well. I had an open house. It was really, really good. Few people came. It kind of sucked on Sunday. It rained. Yeah. So the rain, it's always tough for open houses. I don't blame them. I don't want to be looking
I wouldn't want to be going out. Yeah,
so I just ended up watching Sunday football pretty much at the open house. But on Saturday it was really busy and only good feedback.
That's good. That's good. All right.
It was a good time. Also, it was nice. Last week I got out to a school reunion with some of my friends. Went back to the Waterloo University town. We went out one night and it was nice to see everybody. Haven't been out in a while, so
Cool.
it was. I found myself in the club on LinkedIn. I pulled out my phone and I was just like, okay, let's see who I can match with. Try to network myself. That was pretty fun. That's how I knew. I was like, man, I'm getting old.
That's enough.
Yeah, this is. I need to get out of here and get back on social media.
No kidding. That's hilarious.
How about you? What did you do last week?
Last week was a good week. We had we'll start strong. I bought a property last week. That's what? Thank you. That talking about one a year. That's been my one for the year. We had a bit of a rough start with.
Yeah, you had a lot of issues that popped up before that with other properties.
Yeah, I had one that we firmed up on earlier in the year. Maybe I talked about it in an earlier podcast, but that we ended up dropping because of a slew of title issues. I will maybe get into that on a deeper dive on another one. But this we found last week. Usually, kind of the typical model in our neighborhood. It was listed at. I guess I'll talk about the numbers. It was listed at $640. And with an offer date, right? And we know with an offer date typically means they're expecting multiple offers. They're going to end up selling for higher. And I saw that it was relisted, or it was still listed after the offer date, right? And typically that means either nobody wanted to offer on the property, or the seller didn't get his or her price. And in this scenario, what they would typically do is bump the price higher to what they want, right? And then start working down from there instead of up with the offer date. In this case, they didn't change the price. They didn't sell an offer date. They left it listed. They removed the offer date in the broker remarks of the listing, and that the price didn't change at all, which to me was a little bit weird, but it was a good property, so it was then worth looking into. So I guess Friday of the previous week, we went and took a peek at it in the afternoon. I spoke with the agent. I said, hey, what's the game plan here, right? What's going on? Why have you not bumped the price? He said the sellers just want to hang out for the weekend, see if they can regenerate their multiple offers. And if not, they were going to relist for $680, $690 the following week. They had offers. Some of them were firm, but they weren't at the price they wanted. One of them was very high in the $680 range, but it had an inspection condition. And even though the property wasn't in that rough shape, for us, we can go through a property and know at this point, right? We've done so many that the property is going to cost us X to repair. And if there is some things that come up in the inspection, we can place contingencies on that, right?
We actually look for properties that do need a lot
of
repair.
I want to see a property that needs repair, right? And I was able to, I know the seller didn't want to deal with too much back and forth. It was a first-time home buyer, so they didn't want to deal with them potentially backing out of the deal and them having to go through the whole process over again. So they actually didn't accept that offer. To me, a little bit weird, a little interesting, but it worked out okay for us. We were able to go in the afternoon, the day after it was kind of relisted, brought our contractor through because he does a lot of work in the neighborhood. I said, hey, why don't you just swing by? It's 5 minutes from your current project. Give me a ballpark estimate so I can then make a better decision, an educated decision on how to make the offer, right? We went back in. We put an offer in at asking with no inspection clause because I know he wanted it, but I wanted my out, if I needed it. So we put an offer in at asking with a finance clause. Told me to fuck off, reasonably so. We bumped it up. Then we went back at $655, $15,000 above asking. No other people on the table here. Told me to fuck off a second time. I said, okay, dude, what's going on here? We're going back and forth, and it's hard for me to justify going above asking. And at this point, we were doing it through a client, so I had a joint venture partner who was going to take title on this. And we were doing it basically saying, hey, listen, how can I justify going up in price when there's no offer date, there's nobody else I'm competing with, I'm already $15,000 over asking. And he kind of gave me the hint that, hey, listen, this guy just wants to hit his price and be done with it, right? So we went back, and I got the feeling the price was in the $670 range. I might get a sign back if I went to $665. So we just went at $671. They accepted it like that. No sign back, no fight, no problem. Went through.
So hold on, say that again. How much?
$671.
$671, and that's in Toronto.
For a property in Toronto.
Yes,
semi-detached.
So hold on, you're telling me that you can purchase a property under $1 million in Toronto?
It is possible.
Really?
Believe it or not, it's possible.
Is this on the outskirts of Toronto?
It's not. It's not even
downtown Toronto.
It's not sketchy. No one's been shot there recently. Yeah, it's driving distance.
Like how you say recently. Like potentially
no
in the
one's
past.
been shot there that I know of. There's an elementary school across the street, so it's probably
that's
pretty good. 3-car
so
parking.
$671.
Yeah, it was not a bad deal.
671.
I'm not promising that to everybody,
171,000.
but it wasn't too.
You know, you can buy properties like that on the outskirts of Toronto.
Yeah, but you can also buy them closer to the core. Not in the core, but pretty close. You know,
Central
there's condos going up in the neighborhood. There's an LRT going up pretty close by.
That's a good purchase.
Yeah, I seem to think so. My partners on the deal seem to think so as well.
671.
So that's the number.
So you can do it. I keep stressing it.
Reiterating
Yeah,
this
because
for
a
a
lot
reason.
of people think it's $1 million is the number, or 900,000, or 1.3. 671.
If you want to be bougie, but
671.
okay.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's get carrying on. We're carrying. Well, I'll tell you when we refinance the property what that ends up looking like.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's where you want to hear the $1 million.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is not going to be the case with this one. But we can hope. We can hope. So yeah, firmed up on it last week. We're doing a joint venture structure with that. So I've got a couple partners on that deal. And one day I'll dive a little bit deeper into that as well, how we end up doing that deal. But I'm sure in the coming months there will be lots of videos, lots of walkthroughs showing the entire process of that deal on our YouTube page and shared amongst our social media for sure.
Yeah, so let's just plug that in. Actually, we haven't told anybody yet, really, but we're going to also be posting weekly walkthrough videos on our YouTube channel and on Instagram and other social media platforms,
LinkedIn, Facebook,
LinkedIn.
etc.
Yeah, I love LinkedIn.
Yep.
So we're going to be posting walkthroughs of some of the current projects that we're doing and potentially other things too. Day in the life of us, just following us around for a bit. They shouldn't be too long, the videos, but something to look forward to. And then you can actually get a visual representation of what we do.
Yeah, you can really see the life cycle of one of our projects, multiple of our projects. We'll see how much we can compete with HGTV and give you real information.
Yeah, real information, not just, wow, amazing.
I bought it for this, and I renovated it for this, so therefore this is how much I made. I didn't pay a lawyer.
Man, come on.
I didn't pay financing of any.
The goal is to end up there one day, baby.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to get Brian Baumler and Spiro Briselis. Leave it to Brian and Spiro.
I apologize to any HGTV executives.
Sorry, Scott McGilvery. Sorry, Property Brothers.
One day I want to be a guru like Scott.
Yeah, Scott's the man.
It's all over Facebook lately.
Really?
Yeah, I'm getting his guru campy.
Oh, he
stuff.
has those guru camps?
Yeah.
Hey, let's get him on the podcast.
All right.
If you know Scott,
if you can hook up,
he went to Guelph. He got his real estate degree or something.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I looked into him. He started buying properties when he was like 19 or something like that. 20.
That's the move.
Yeah, well, if you can afford it.
That's the move if you were 19 in Guelph.
Yeah, if
However
you're a farmer.
I don't even know how old he is, so
yeah, he's
can't
probably
do
in
that
his
math.
30s or something.
Yeah.
40 maybe. I don't know. But
Anyway. Tangenting on, what else work related? We have a listing coming up in Whitby, so that's kind of exciting. Had the tenant move out earlier last week, so I got the joys of going there to the deeps of Whitby late on a Tuesday evening to see this tenant left heaps of garbage. Garage is full, bags everywhere. They had a pool, those above ground.
Nice.
Legit pools with hundreds of gallons, thousands of gallons of water
In it?
They just left it. They probably had 4 or 5 inches of water left, but
where
they
does that
left
go?
the pool in the
You have to
backyard.
just drain it in the backyard slowly.
I think the client in that one, he's just gonna go do the junk removal himself. Him and a buddy were going over to take all the trash out, but contractors got started on that one today. We're doing a really light renovation, kind of flooring, paint, light fixtures, just freshen it up, getting ready for market, and that should be listed early October.
Not bad.
Whitby Townhouse.
Pretty
So
good.
that's a work in progress. And then the weekend speaking of Guelph, went out to Guelph. Wife and I had our first babysitting experience for our niece and nephew. Yeah, to see Scott. I went to Guelph to meet Scott McGilvery on a Saturday for shits and giggles.
You were babysitting. Is that why I hear some sniffles?
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. Maybe they were sick. Maybe Billy was sick. It's probably Billy's fault.
Billy. For those of you who don't know, Billy works at the office. He's
another one of our killer agents.
Yeah,
but
he's also super jacked.
Yeah, we'll have him on one day, and he'll take up this entire screen.
Yeah, his pecs will be like here. He's a big boy.
Yes. So yeah, we got our first babysitting experience.
So do you have baby fever now?
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny.
Oh, okay.
Our nephew is 2. He's
Isn't that the terrible twos?
It is the range. He was pretty good, actually. He was very good that evening. But and Emma, our niece and goddaughter, is 4 or 5 months, I think, at this point. And we learned really quickly how the project management skills that you develop watching children. Oh my God, when there's 1,000 and 2 dogs on top of that, plus ordering pizza and putting a kid down and heating up milk and having the doorbell ring, and then the dogs start barking and the one kid starts running around, and then the other kid wakes up and you gotta take the milk off the stove, and oh wow, it was an experience. I am big praise to all the parents out there because that is work. Anywho, that was basically my week. Why don't we
I'm just gonna check something. You can
take off our headphones and
I'm just gonna
go take a shit in the middle of the podcast. Like,
no, just keep going.
My co-host is co-host is fucking off.
No, I'm back. I just had to adjust something.
Okay. We're back in the booth with
Back
Phil
in
and
the
the
booth.
pig. I mean the kid. Phil and the realtor.
I'm a realtor. I feel like that's what I should end off all my videos saying. Like,
I'm a realtor.
You know, what's that TMZ? I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
Is that what he says?
I don't know, man.
Come on, TMZ, man.
Not TMZ,
Khloe Kardashian.
Because that's she's coming to Toronto. You want to meet the most humble? Is that it? Is that
the most down to earth?
Down to earth. The most down to earth. Thank you, Blog TO. The most down to earth of the Kardashians is in Toronto on Wednesday. After this is recorded, or before this is recorded or released.
Yeah.
When it's recorded, before it's released. So it doesn't matter. Y'all gonna miss Khloe.
Yeah. If you want to see her, Hudson's Bay across the Eaton Center.
I don't know why this is so funny.
Khloe Kardashian. Okay.
I love you, Khloe.
Okay.
That's enough.
Let's actually get to the point of this podcast now.
Oh fuck! All right.
right,
what are we
so
talking about today? Why you want to invest in real estate, right? Why is real estate as an asset class a good idea compared to your stocks and bonds and ETFs and mutual funds and gold bars and cash in your bed mattress, whatever.
Especially cash in your bed mattress. Especially
of course the
just
mattress is for
sitting
your bed.
on cash. Like I can't stress this enough. That's probably the worst thing you can do.
Why don't you, Mr. Economist, for a second, talk about what happens when you're sitting on cash and inflation starts to be a thing?
Your cash is worth less than it's worth less than what it was before. There's no point of doing this. Cash that's not being used to do something is hurting you. And it's just
going
paper.
down
It's
in
literally
value.
just paper. So what you want to be doing is spending all the cash you have on different things.
Like
So
buying Phil a McLaren. No, sorry, never
no,
mind.
Probably not that.
Okay.
Buying a property in Toronto for $671.
That's the one.
That's what you want to be doing,
spending
or
your
other
money on.
things. But you want to constantly keep spending it. If you leave your money sitting there,
Investing it, not
investing.
spending it.
Well, spending too. If you're gonna sit at home and be like, I have 40,000 in the bank. I mean, that's a number I'm just pulling out. Whatever. Great. Who gives a shit? Literally nothing's happening. Like, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You want to be doing something with it. Go
Yep.
buy yourself a pair of shoes. Who cares? It's better than doing nothing.
That's a dicey topic in my house.
Yeah, another Stranger Things edition. What are you wearing
No,
today?
I got my Gary V's
Gary
on.
V's.
I'm taking them off my feet this time. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not going to put my feet up on the table. However,
Look at that.
KW004s or GV004s. Sorry, the K Swiss. Gary Vaynerchuk. Positivity and optimism. What a wonderful shoe, folks.
Yep, this is what he spends money on.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, maybe don't buy shoes. Just save your money for real estate or other investments. But in an overall consensus, I think we both agree. I think most people will agree. Don't just sit on your money. It's an old school train of thought. I know maybe your grandparents or your parents tell you, save every dime, don't spend it, don't invest it, just sit on it, and it's going to be good. Nah, don't do that. Just educate yourself, read some books. If you can, take some courses, listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
There are great ways to get more knowledgeable about this stuff. So that's my first thing is you have money, you're saving money. What do you do with it to make more money? That's
Right.
what you want to do. You want to make your money work for you,
Of
not
course.
work for your money.
That's right.
Well, you probably want to work for your money in the beginning, but
Everyone needs to work for their money in the beginning, right? But eventually you want to hit a point with the right wise investments, providing the right returns that will eventually begin to make more money for you.
Exactly. Right? And that's where we come along, and that's where
Yeah.
we promote real estate. That's what we think. That's what we believe in.
That's right. So why don't we talk about? Maybe I can get into the nitty gritty of my deal, my 671 deal.
671 in Toronto.
To talk about the life cycle of a real estate investment, and I'll maybe cut out at the certain points where it'll provide me a return, right? So this property that I was discussing. This is let's take away the joint venture for a moment. Let's assume I was a single party.
We'll talk about
in
the
this
joint
deal.
venture another time.
Yeah, it starts to complicate things a little bit, but keeping things completely basic, we find for what I do at least, we find a single family home in Toronto. This is applicable to many, many, many different markets, right? But we have found a single family home that is in need of work, so it is undervalued, assuming the value of the cost of your renovation is not equal to the value of your renovation, right? The value you're going to provide is going to be significantly more than the cost of the renovation. And this for flippers is like their bread and butter here. This is exactly what they operate on, is buying a property undervalued, adding in some renovations and making a spread on that renovation. Right?
So what's the value percentage that you like to go for? I've heard a lot of people like 70%, 80% to market value.
70% ARV is like a big flipper number that's tossed around, right?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily something that I look at specifically deal by deal. That it needs to hit this threshold before I'll even consider it as a deal, right? Because we have a lot of different factors in our deals. It's not just the spread that I'm going to make on the renovation. It's what's the property going to be costing me, period, versus how much am I going to be renting it for? What's the monthly cash flow that I'm going to be making after that, right? So in this specific deal scenario, purchase it for $671. We're $671. We're going to be doing a renovation that's going to cost us just shy of $50,000, right? So then our all in on this is going to be in the $720 ballpark. My estimation, after adding $50,000 worth of renovation, is the property will be worth probably just shy at the time of mid next year, just shy of $800,000, right? So there's a spread on that. Obviously, if I'm purchasing something for $720 is my all-in cost, and I'm not factoring in financing yet here, but if $720 is my all-in cost and $800, let's round numbers, let's call it $800 is what it's worth at the end of the day, I have forced value. I have made $80,000 worth of value into that property, right? Now, how do I recapture that? And that's when we get into the BRRRR model, right? By refinancing and taking some of those funds back out. But again, that's a little bit more high level. Let's assume we don't refinance, right? So we purchase this property for $671. We are putting in $50,000 worth of renovation. So what is that going to cost us? Cash in the bank. That's going to cost us about $220,000, $230,000,
including renovations.
Including the renovations. So what that's going to be costs. Is your legal fees, your land transfer tax, which in Toronto is unfortunately double. So you have about $20,000 in land transfer tax. That's going to cost you your renovation, obviously, about $50,000 in your renovation. And the rest of that is primarily going to be the down payment. So you need 20% down payment in most structures. Obviously, you can do 5, 10, 15%, less than 20% down payment with an insured mortgage, but
higher interest rates on that.
They typically end up being a little bit lower, actually, really? Because the bank is insured the mortgage. So the mortgage company is like the mortgage holder is a little bit, they're more protected, right?
Okay.
However, you do pay your mortgage insurance,
yes,
which ends up making that cost greater.
Yeah,
like your monthly rate is greater. On top of the fact that your annual your term. So you're going to end up being a 25-year amortization versus a 30-year amortization when you do a 20% down. Okay. So if you're spreading your payments out over a shorter period of time, your payments are going to be higher, right? Yeah. And at the same time, you're putting less money down, so your balance that you're borrowing is greater.
So your net cash flow is
add all those
less
together, and your cash flow is going to be minimized, right?
So what you want to put 20% down.
If you can, you want to put 20% down. If you can't, and you can only get into a deal with 5 or 10% down, and you have to live in it, then
for those of you listening, there's a little eye roll there.
I would say it is better to do a deal than not. But everyone's scenario, like personally, I would do a deal with 5 if I only had 5 to do a deal with, right? But everyone's scenario is different.
Well, you've done deals with nothing, right?
Yeah, we'll get into that on another podcast as well.
Yeah. That's where I am.
For all you know, money down investors. Okay, so we've talked about 671.
So I want to actually ask you. So it's 671. That 50,000 that you have for renovations, do you include a contingency normally?
Yes, always.
And what's that percentage?
I usually balk it up by about 10-15%.
Okay.
I mean, some people would say do 20 to be safe. We have a very good relationship with our contractors at this point, knowing full well if something pops up, they're gonna be pretty reasonable with us, right? And we're also extremely thorough when we go through a property, so we try and build in as much as possible. But I would never go into a property. I have never seen a renovation that stayed within budget and within time. It almost never happens, right? Because there's always unknowns.
Something comes up.
You're never gonna have a perfect project. As soon as you start opening walls up, there's gonna be things behind the walls. You start moving stuff's gonna break. Time increases. A lot of different things that can go
that's
wrong.
Excuse me. That's actually what is known as the home run. Is when you get a project with minimal, pop-ups.
Yep.
Things that just go your way. Everything goes to plan. It gets appraised for really high value. That's your home run. And it's a little bit unrealistic to think you're gonna hit a home run every time you go up to bat. But if you're going up to bat and not swinging, you're never going to hit.
Yep.
And that's what not buying a property is not swinging and just walking right back to the dugout and waiting for your turn again and again and again. And you continuously not get hits. But if you swing and you hit, you're going to get a base hit, single, double, triple.
If you don't swing, you're not getting anything.
No,
right?
Exactly. And swinging is just pulling the trigger. You got to do it.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's talk about it. We needed, 220 I said to do this deal?
Yes.
All in. So again, 220 is not a small number.
How many partners do you have for this?
There's 3 of us in total.
Okay.
Right? So different and varying percentages, right? Because I just became a full-time realtor fairly recently, it's very difficult for me as an individual to get financing right now because I am self-employed.
Yes.
Right? So I need to leverage the assistance of others to allow me to qualify for financing, or for them to qualify for financing, and for me to take a portion of the deal. Again, a little bit more high level there. But let's assume 220 all in. Property's gonna be worth 8 at the end of the day. So you made a little bit of a spread on that purchase in your renovation. That is what I would consider more of an active income. That's not necessarily the passive income that I usually look at for my investment portfolio. However, it's not something I'm going to turn down, right? That's going to allow me to take more money out of the property faster to then leverage into another property and continue to grow a portfolio. So for the rest of this deal, after the renovations are complete, right, we're then going to go ahead and rent out the property. In this one, we're going to be converting into a 4-bedroom apartment on the top floor and main floor together, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom with ensuite laundry, and the basement is going to be a 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom, ensuite laundry. And then we have 3 parking at the property as well that we're likely going to split up, 2 upstairs, 1 for the basement guy.
Makes sense.
Right?
Are you charging more for the parking too?
We usually I will throw it in, but I throw it in and I
increase the
build
rent.
Exactly. Yeah. I build that into the rents, right? Parking is a bit of a hot commodity in Toronto, as many people know, right? So I'm not ridiculous with it. I'm more focused on putting a very high quality tenant into my property that's going to be low headache, low turnover. That's just very good for the property.
And your background in property management,
it does help.
That all helps.
Yeah, property management and leasing for quite a while. it helps weed out. You learn after a while how to weed out the right and the wrong people, right?
Yeah, you get to meet a lot of people, and you know when someomel's bullshitting you, or there are a lot of people do put on a show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nick
will come on one day and tell you guys a story. I don't know.
Well, that's a bit of a.
I'm not gonna.
That's ultra explicit, dark content.
Yeah, that was crazy.
We won't go there yet.
No,
we won't scare anybody off. Just this. We get good tenants.
Yeah, we get good tenants. Well, that just happened too. A lot of people come to us again and say, you know what, this was a bad experience for us. We put in bad tenants, not us. Themselves put in bad tenants because they didn't know what to look for. Yeah. But when you do it every single day for years, and you have people around you doing it every single day,
your bullshit detector is just
you're just point. Like, you know what? Maybe this person who shows they make whatever it is,
Yeah.
doing whatever they do, isn't really telling the truth.
Maybe that guy with a 901 credit score is kind of lying. That could be photoshopped.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that.
Yeah.
So that's something to know and just going forward.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to this.
So we're going to end up renting the property for more or less $5,000 in total. Likely going to go 16 to the basement, 34 upstairs, something in that ballpark, right? I do mine as all inclusives. A lot of people will break out the utilities separately. Since I do mine as all inclusives, I need to then budget. So if my gross income from the property monthly is $5,000, I wish I had a whiteboard to explain this better. But if my gross income is $5,000 and I have to budget for utilities, let's call that $500 a month. So I'm down to $4,500. I know my insurance is typically going to be about $100 a month. On the high end, $150. So we'll excuse me. We'll knock off another $150. So what are we at? $4,350 there. The property taxes for a lot of these properties aren't going to be more than $250 a month. So we're at $4,100. And I've got to budget in a little bit for repairs, maintenance. Yeah. Some people will budget for property management. Thankfully, we manage our own. So I'd budget in another $200 a month on the light end for repairs and maintenance, knowing that we just redid the entire property. And either I have budgeted for the large capital expenditures ahead of time, like my windows, my roof, my HVAC, all that stuff, or I've repaired it in my initial renovation. So my maintenance budget is going to be fairly low on a monthly basis. So we're at about $3,900 a month in income, less all of our non-fixed expenses, and then we have our mortgage. Right, this isn't a property that we bought all cash, and buying a property where you could get bank financing all cash is not something I would typically recommend. Every investor scenario is different, but using the bank's leverage is a wise thing to do, in my opinion.
Leveraging is always a wise thing,
especially when the rates are very low. Depends on your state.
Not
right?
always.
Yeah, if I'm leveraging
99%.
my credit cards to buy a property, if I'm planning on holding that for a long time, that might be real expensive.
Yes.
In this scenario, though, bank
proper
rates,
leveraging is always
wise leveraging is good. It helps you grow.
And that's
very
how
quickly.
Warren Buffett and all these people made a lot of money. Is
knowing
where to put money, and
definitely helps you scale. So we're $3,900 a month. I think we got a pretty good rate at like 2.74 or something like that. Yeah.
Whoa.
1 year fixed. So our refinance period is likely going to be after the 1 year fixed is up.
That's fine. And that's because of fees.
Yes, exactly. So because it is fixed versus variable, that's why we're waiting. We'll probably likely wait the whole year. It's not typically worth it to break a fixed. The fees on variable are usually significantly smaller. 3 years interest penalty, or 3 months. 3 years would suck.
Whoa.
3 months interest penalty. So a few $1,000, right? And if I'm going to recapture 80, then a few $1,000 is worth it.
Yeah.
But in this case, we'll just wait the year. Won't pay any fees. We'll go refinance at that point. But our mortgage payment should be in the ballpark of like $2,400 a month.
Okay.
With that, so what are we at? 39 less our 24. That leaves us with $1,500 a month, right? So that $1,500 a month net cash flow. No, I'm not going to start talking about taxes. That's another whole episode in its own, right?
Yes.
But that $1,500 a month net cash flow was made off of that $200,000 and some investment, right? So that's going to be shy of a 10% return. Let's call it a 7% return. I'm totally ballparking
I'll
right
do
now.
it right now, quickly.
All right, we got the kids' quick math skills.
So 220.
Yeah, 220, and our total annual $18,000 income. And that's pretty conservative. I like to run our rents very conservatively so that we can
around
capitalize.
8% plus.
Okay, so if you're getting 8% returns, and this is only on the cash flow the property is generating after all expenses are paid, and considering part of that is also paying down your mortgage, right?
Yeah. Which is a large chunk of that is paying off yourself.
Exactly.
You're
putting it into the piggy bank, basically. So
that's
what you're not doing it.
That's a concept that a lot of people don't understand.
Your tenants are doing it
right?
for you. So
exactly.
I'll dump into that in a second. So you have 8% returns, cash on cash. So just your cash flow, which is, equivalent just in that aspect to a stock market, right? Something along those lines. A good stock market.
That's just paying you, pretty highly.
Yeah.
And stock markets take some of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's no Murphys, so there's no management expense ratios that some trader is going to be taking from you, or in a mutual fund or something like that, right? So we'll call it 8%, quick math. And then you're also paying down your mortgage. In this scenario, you start on the higher end. So some of it goes to principal and some of it goes to paying the bank their interest, right? Usually it's about 50-50 as you get close. The more you pay down, the higher your principal gets paid. So for about $2,000 a month, then we're $2,400 a month. We're about $1,200 a month is going to be paid towards principal. Very similar. So let's call it 6 or 7% interest, or sorry, say a 6 or 7% return just on paying down your mortgage pay down there. So we have right now we're at about a 15% return.
Yeah.
We haven't even discussed something called appreciation, right? That is the largest portion in many cases. And a lot of people invest speculatively, let's call it in condos, for example, right? I'm going to buy a pre-construction condo and I know it's going to be increasing in value. I know, big air quotes there, it's going to be increasing in value before the building is complete, right? In the case that doesn't increase in value, let's call it goes net zero, it doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. You've locked up $200,000 in a condo for 4 or 5 years before it was built, and you got paid nothing, right? So that the appreciation I like to put as the icing on the cake, right? I personally would not advise, unless, again, this fits in your model, to invest strictly for appreciation. And this is where a lot of people get caught up in a lot of markets, Toronto especially, a lot of flippers, or even home buyers get caught up assuming that a property is always going to appreciate, right? It's not always the case. People talk about the bubble bursting and all those things. I'm not going to say the bubble is going to burst anytime soon. However, I like to know that my properties providing such a high cash flow are hedged against something like that. So in the case that, let's say, the market tanks 10%, my rents aren't going to go down. Rents are very rarely go down, and if anything, they will stagnate. So I know current situation, this property is going to be paying me $1,500 a month. If it doesn't go up, if it does go down, I don't need to sell it, right? I just hold on. I don't need to refinance it. I'm going to hold on, and I'm still going to get my 15% return. Now, let's say the property does go up in value. I know last year in Toronto, we had after the 2017 hit, we had a very modest 3% year over year, 3.7, something like that, year over year increase. Let's say you have a 10% year over year, like some of these other markets, right?
Yeah.
My $800,000 property in a year is going to go up $80,000. Again, I'm spitballing numbers here, but if my property goes up $80,000 in a year, that's 10% based on the $800,000 the property is worth. The money that I've put into the property is not $800,000, and this is where leverage is beautiful, right? I'm not buying the property for all cash $800,000 because then that would be a true 10% return. However, I've leveraged it 5 times. So if I'm putting 20% down on a property, I've leveraged 5 times my initial investment to the appreciation. So again, quick numbers, but a 10% appreciation on 20% down on a property investment would typically end up turning into a 50% appreciation.
Yep.
Hopefully everyone's following me. One day I'll do this on a big whiteboard to help explain everything.
And we're going to break this down too in separate episodes and kind of dive into detail on certain things. This is more of an overview.
Yes,
this
super
is
high
something
level.
that's happening right now. Just quick on the topic.
Yeah.
A good thing is where we choose to buy properties and invest, they're usually the areas that appreciate the quickest, the fastest in the city. So it won't be an area that's already very mature where you have those expensive prices already.
Yes.
They're usually lower areas, lower priced areas. Yeah, right beside the areas that are really high or really nice or just caught up to the trend,
especially with a city like Toronto, right, where you have these rings of pricing flowing from the core of the city. We like to kind of follow that wave and stay on the outskirts of the ring so that we know we're in that next upcoming ring of appreciation
where you see buildings getting gentrified very quickly. And I mean, even the area that we're in right now, Oakwood Village, you're seeing that really quick right now, right here. Like it's day-to-day differences.
Yep.
I mean, a year ago to today, there's big differences.
Yeah, if you have a market that you have two vastly different price points in a property. Let's call it you've got your Forest Hill $4 million house versus you have your Oakwood Village, $671,000 house. There are
671.
there's very few people that are going to be able to afford that $4 million house. Therefore, your demand is greatly diminished. And then if you're buying on, I'm not going to say the bottom end, because the bottom end of a market, so I mean, I'm not talking about sketchy, war zone-y kind of neighborhoods, right? But the entry-level price points are where a very vast majority of the buyers are right now, right? Creating a demand in that space, meaning that is the space that is likely the ripest for appreciation. Again, never really a guaranteed thing, but
This is basic economics,
Yes.
basic supply and demand.
exactly. So, I mean, circling back now, if I have let's dumb it down and say a 5% year-over-year appreciation. I think that's fairly modest for a city like Toronto in an area that we're going to be investing in. If I've got a 15% return on the two things being my cash flow and my pay down, I'm going to be having a 25% return. Again, that's a 5% leverage times 5 because of my cash into the property. Turning it into a 40% ROI, return on your investment, for buying a property that's covering itself, right? Comparing, I mean, you're not recapturing all of that right away, of course. That's going to be net worth growth instead of cash flow just to pay your monthly expenses. But over time, as these things look at a 40% ROI annually, compounded year over year as you own these properties, and you're going to be growing a portfolio with that additional growth, that can really, really, really start to generate some huge wealth, right?
And that's the whole goal in all of this.
Yeah.
Now, I want to kind of divert away from the numbers right now.
Cool.
I mean, we got into it. You can tell how excited you are talking about your project.
I can do that all day.
Yeah, you hit a good hit with this one.
Yep.
Let's kind of dive back and explain some of the more simple terms for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Where we can do the numbers on another episode and get them down, go a little bit slower and dive into it. But for now, let's bring it back to the basement. So, why invest in real estate? That was an overview of analytically why to do it.
Yeah.
The numbers behind everything numerically.
Mm-hmm.
But now let's talk about the qualitative stuff.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, I think the biggest one for me personally, and I think this stands true for a lot of people, really all the finance numbers stem back to freedom, right? What does passive cash flow provide you? It provides you the ability to eventually wake up in the morning and decide what you want to do with your day. Do I want to go to work? Do I want to work on a passion project? Do I want to go hit that grind day to day in a company working for someone else that maybe I'm not so happy with, but I need to pay the bills? Or do I want to be able to work on something that I'm truly passionate about, but maybe isn't the most income generating activity, but could be helping the world?
Exactly.
Or do you want to just be on a boat with your family having fun?
Well, honestly, that's what retirement is to me. I keep saying this goal of retiring early.
Yep.
That doesn't mean I'm going to be on a boat for myself. It means I can focus every single day not on making money. That's just the cherry on top. I mean, early on in your career, for most people later on in their career, you're trying to just generate wealth every day. You go to work, you clock in, you get your paycheck. What I want to do and what retirement is to me is having the money, having the background, and having the assets that I can pursue any dream I've always had since I was a kid. I can open up that business one year with all the cash flow from my properties. I could refinance a property and take on a bigger project. I can do other things, maybe get into buying buildings or developing. These are all down the road. That's what quote unquote retirement is for me. It's not actually retiring. I want to keep working. I enjoy what I do. Yeah. This is fun for me.
Absolutely.
And I think going forward, it's just going to be more fun.
Yep.
The more assets
it
we
removes
hold.
stress from the entire equation, right? When you have that passive income coming in.
Not your first property though. Your first property usually
it can be pretty stressful.
Is a little stressful. Maybe
that's
your
what we're here
second.
for, though, right?
Exactly, and that's why going forward, your fourth or fifth, you have property management. You have other people looking after your properties, your babies, literally your babies, and your wealth generators. And going forward, that's when the stress goes away. Once you get more comfortable with the process, you sit down with professionals like us, discuss what's happening, why it's happening, so you're not left confused or scared. That's when the stress goes away and you actually realize you were a lot more stressed before you got into this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
God, yeah. I mean, that was a very defining line for myself as well, right? Once getting in, knowing full well ahead of time that, hey, this is going to be my ticket to freedom, to happiness, to security. Once things got started, and then once, leaving the 9 to 5, the dirty job finally was a huge weight off, right? But yeah, no, I mean, like we said, freedom is huge. The ability to just kind of wake up in the morning, do what you want, when you want, with, because you have that passive income coming in, and because you have that passive wealth being generated over time through your properties, also provides you security.
Security is a big thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, with stock markets, I think you technically, if you're investing in a portfolio, you won't see too many fluctuations because you hedge against that. That's the whole point.
That's the point of a portfolio.
Yes,
yeah.
But you can see a little bit more stalling, or you don't get the rewards you do from real estate, especially with refinancing.
Yes.
Is the big ticket item of real estate. Another thing is, that's why we choose Toronto. A lot of the areas around Toronto are really good too. However, industries in those areas aren't as strong as in Toronto. And I don't want to say never, but it's gonna take a while for them to. It's going to take a while for Toronto to grow to that level. I mean, I believe in 20, 50 years down the road, Toronto will probably touch Hamilton. They will be all developed. In my opinion, I don't see what else will happen. I could see from Waterloo to Toronto all being
developed,
pretty much developed. I mean, I hope they develop it properly, leaving in parks, leaving in forests whatnot. And I believe they will. You won't see, Jakarta right now is sinking, because if you look at an overview of Jakarta, it is actually all concrete, all building, and it's pretty much below. Yeah, pretty much below. If you want to look on YouTube, look up Jakarta's sinking right now. It's crazy. I've watched a couple hours worth of videos. I was shocked. There's people living right beside a seawall, like in parts of the States right now.
Right.
And it's not looking too good for Jakarta. I think it's something like 1/3 or 2/3 of the city could be underwater in a handful of years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's scary. That's actually the capital right now. They're moving it to another city, and sorry, I cannot remember the name right now, but I'm not that adept into geography.
This isn't a geography podcast.
No, but it's something that, being in real estate, that you look for. I always like developments too. That's something that just catches me. Mm-hmm. And I think Toronto's done so far a good job at developing. I think also that project along the tracks downtown. Have you heard about it? It's called City Park.
Yes.
It's called. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be however
finding
many kilometers.
Green space where they can, basically.
Exactly, right? And I think that's going to help out the city. We'll have our own central park practically. Yeah. And it's going to be something really cool, and I hope they keep taking these initiatives. So back to our security standpoint, I love Toronto in that sense. That you have so many immigrants coming here, the industries are strong, jobs are strong. The city's looking good right now.
People need a place to live.
And people need a place to live.
People are always going to need a place to live.
And like what you said, people afford the lower end of the budget more than the higher end. So, so there are people buying $4 million properties, especially in Toronto, because it's, why wouldn't you? If you have the money, that's great. Awesome. But there are a lot more people buying the 400, 500, 600, 700, 800.
And I mean, think of in the
671.
Case of that's a good number, guys. In the case of a downturn as well, right? Think of that specific asset class being in the entry level price point. Those people at the $4 million properties, the $5 million, the $6 million, when the economy starts to turn and tank, what are the things that you cut out? The luxuries, right? The luxuries are what gets cut out first. And a lot of those people in the upper echelon of the purchase prices are going to start turning back and going down a little bit, creating an even greater demand on that lower entry level price point type of property. It's the same idea with vacation rentals and vacation rental investments and things. When a market turns or an economy turns, vacations are one of those luxuries that you can cut out of your life very easily, and those types of investments may not perform so well. We kind of operate in the very bread and butter, long-term rental, not Airbnb type of stuff that someone's always going to need, right? Very, very secure type of investments.
And it's unfortunate that this happens. I mean, in a sense, I think we are in a dog-eat-dog world, and it's always been that way, and I believe it'll always be that way. To think otherwise is probably a little bit naive. You've probably been watching too much Disney or whatever it is. Princesses, Moana, by the way, my favorite movie.
Great Disney movie.
It's a great movie. Anyways, this is a real world. I mean, you have lions killing zebras. This is happening. Bears maul people. Sometimes, rarely, but it happens. Maul deers, whatever. What happens in economic What happens in economic downturns, and you see it. The rich buy all the properties that people can't afford anymore. There's a reason for that. They wouldn't do that if it was a bad investment.
Yep.
As soon as prices dip, unfortunately, the more well-off will spend their money that they've saved and money that they've invested into more properties because they know that once it corrects itself, they're going to be laughing.
In very good shape. And they'll likely be buying them from the people that over-leveraged themselves during the hot market when people thought you could just make money forever, right?
Yes.
And this has happened a few times in our history, but again, not an economy lesson either. But yeah.
Maybe I can start an economics podcast. I don't want to do that. Honestly, probably there's better people to do that than me.
Economics with a realtor.
I'm a realtor. For those of you listening, I think we talked about it, but I'm wearing a realtor shirt. Yeah, it's pretty nice. You can get yours now for $40. I just made that up. Maybe I'll sell it.
They will be on Spiro's website by the end of the night.
Yeah, check out my website, spiroversalis.com. They won't be on by the end of the night, but who knows? I'm sure maybe one person will want one.
Your mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Again. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered the basics pretty good here. We've got our freedom, our security, our cash flow every month. The other biggest generator being your long-term wealth creation by owning real estate. Like I was talking about earlier, let's call it a 40% return on your investment with within, again, we're talking about 1 year here with one property. Now imagine compounding that over the course of even 10 years, what that's going to be worth. And over 10 properties times 10 years, or even 5 properties times 10 years, right? That is a massive amount of wealth that can be made with very, very little time investment. Yes, the initial capital is going to be large, but as you grow that first property, that can be refinanced and utilized to grow more and more and more properties. That's real long-term generational wealth that you can be building through a compounded return, and again, secured to very real assets. And these are the types of things that are going to be paying for retirement. They're going to be paying for kids' education. They're going to be paying for Phil's sweet McLaren. One day. We're not there yet, guys. But one day. These are the kinds of things that currently pay for Phil's Gary V's, the cash flow, that is.
Spiro's shirts.
That's it.
These are the things that will happen. Yeah. I actually want to touch on something right now quickly.
Want to smack the table and screw the mics up again too?
Yes, I do. So what I hear a lot, and then this again comes from my demographic, my age range, 20 to mid-30s, is I could afford a property in a different city. So let's say outskirts of Toronto or 2, 3, 4 hours away.
Right.
Which are mainly in university towns. That's great. I would never talk bad about that because I honestly believe in it too. I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm going to say, however, there are other options like you said, joint ventures.
Yeah.
They're a really, really good way of getting your piece of the pie in Toronto. So I don't want to talk about the nitty gritty of that right now. I don't want to dive too deep into it. We'll leave that for a later podcast, but just keep in mind that there are ways to do it with less money currently. Yeah. So you could dive in and buy those properties, which again, go for it. I'm not stopping you. I think it's a good job. Like it's a good idea. I'm not saying it's not. But it could be a better idea in Toronto for the factors that we talked about: hedging, the city itself, rents rise in Toronto at least for the past few years, and currently very rapidly. We're talking about 10% year-over-year growth for the past few years. Like, what could you get for a single bedroom here? Like my lowest basement entry level, we're talking about $1,400. That's lowest, right? That's our very entry level basement apartment, and we have basements that are renting for 18 plus, right? And I'm sure there's more renting for higher in the core of the city, right? Oh yeah. And that's just basements. I mean, other apartments.
Our main floor 1 bedrooms are starting at $1,800, right? Where our 3 and 4 bedrooms are north of $3,000.
So you don't find that usually in the university towns. You'll find, depending on where you are, $400 a room to $350, $400 a room, to the higher end $800 a room.
Right.
That's pretty high end. I'm sure there are some touching a little higher that are extremely high end, but that's where you're kind of going. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah,
I mean, go for it.
The purchase prices are lower too, right? So I mean, it's the math is certainly there.
The cash flow's good.
The cash flows are great.
Really good.
The thing again about the Toronto market just being, if I need less doors to accomplish my financial goals, that's far less management.
Yes.
That's
less
more
risk.
freedom. That's less risk. That's less time. That's less tenants that I need to deal with. That's less toilets that I need to deal with.
I mean, it could be a good way to hedge your risk too. I don't want to say it's less risk, and then people say, well, technically I'm diversifying, whatever.
Right.
I guess it does diversify, but at a university town, those are more risky. That's why you don't see a lot of people. Well, you do see a lot of people buying them, but that's why you're
killing it.
Some guys are killing. Shout out to my friend Marco Agbaba. He's killing it right now. Check out his YouTube channel. He's doing really well.
Where is he? He's in Windsor, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's doing really well. Went to school with him. Really smart guy. Feel free, check him out. I'm giving him a shout out right now.
Marco did not pay us for this shout out.
No. But next time. No, we're going to actually have him on one day too. I want to have him on. He'll talk about his whole BRRRR investment process and how he does it. I mean, you can check out again his videos. And we're also going to be having a few more guests coming on shortly.
Yeah.
We can dive into that another time. I mean,
when they're here.
Yeah. Don't want to say it right now, but we have a few guests coming on. They can tell you from their experience. They're industry professionals, or they have experience investing, or they know a lot of investors, or they're business people.
Everyone's got a different, a lot of people have a different strategy. Everyone has a different story, what got them into it, what drives them. So I think we will be definitely bringing on many different investors and industry professionals in the near future to kind of help educate as well as ourselves.
So last week we also went to Galleria on the Park. I believe that's what it's called, right?
That's Galleria on the Park. That's a big development that is going to be massive for the city as well as the area in which that we are investing. I mean, they're basically, I'd consider it one of the, or soon to be next city place kind of size.
Yeah, and the parks around, there was that, I don't know how many kilometers stretch of parks that they're building. Was it 5 kilometers?
The city's building that,
Yeah, that's great. That's not even part of the development. It's just part of the city's plan.
Like a 5 kilometer stretch of interconnected green space.
I love it. That Galleria, I grew up in that area. That McDonald's there. I used to go to the Planet Fitness there back in the day.
The lady that runs the drive-thru at the McDonald's, they're so nice.
They are so nice. They love my sister there. Yeah, for some reason.
Weird, but okay.
Yeah.
Weird flex.
Shout out to Trisha. I'm just giving shout outs to everybody. Who else should I shout out?
Nobody. McDonald's lady.
Scott McGilvery. Marco Agbaba. My sister.
But Galleria is looking to be something fierce. It's 20-acre plot of land. They've got an 8-tower development coming up, 95,000 square foot community center, including things like daycare, which is massively important.
One of the biggest community centers in the city.
Yeah.
It'll be state of the art.
3 kilometers of green space. And this is the first time I've actually heard, and I'm sure there are other buildings doing it, but it's the first time I've heard of an entire development, every unit they're building with smart home technology, which I think is super cool.
That's what you have to be doing.
Nowadays it's just cool to see where the industry's going. Right.
The price point was also what it was, 1,000 per square foot.
In and around. I think they said they started at $965.
Went up to as much as $1,100.
Yeah, but they were more or less sold out of phase 1 already at this point.
Within days.
Pretty close to sold out.
I mean, we went to the opening event and
there was like 4,000 agents.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And they were turning them out. I've never been to a condo opening event and had a bouncer had to cut people off and have a lineup outside by the time that we were leaving to do a round 2.
The amount of Mercedes and
BMW. The Mercedes per square inch, per square kilometer in that area, I've never seen in my life. I felt like I was slumming it.
Mercedes per square kilometer.
Yeah, that's a new stat. Exactly. That's how you know how wealthy a neighborhood is.
Oh, not bad. Actually, that's something I do look for when I do show clients. I always take a look at the cars. I mean, it might not be, don't judge me. I'm not trying to be prejudiced or
no. It's a good indicator of wealth in the neighborhood
you
or
see
disposable income.
You see a good car. It doesn't have to be a Mercedes. It could be a nice Toyota. It could just be well-kept car, well-kept lawn. That's something to look for.
Yeah.
Random tip. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. No, in our, across the street from one of our clients, and again, this is in a $671,000 neighborhood.
671.
Across the street from one of our properties around there, one of our clients' properties. Sorry, neighbor's got a GTR and an M4. And he doesn't even have a garage, but he's got a GTR and an M4, so he
dope.
Must be all right.
Pretty dope.
I'd be friends with him.
So what's in the news now, as we touched on?
Yeah, we touched on Khloe Kardashian.
Khloe Kardashian, the most humble.
The most humble? No, the most down to earth.
Down to earth.
The most down to earth of the
like
Kardashian sisters, apparently, says Blog TO.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know how they know.
I don't.
But I think I know.
Social
media. I have a good sense. I think she looks like the most down to earth.
She seems chill.
Yeah.
Does she? I don't know. Who really knows?
I don't know.
But more entertaining than that, September 21st, and my wife's gonna love this. We've got a Harry Potter bar crawl.
What?
What? Muggles and wizards and witches and Wingardium Leviosas and beer. They've got a downtown entertainment district, like a 4-bar crawl, different kinds of Harry Potter themed things, a Yule Ball themed after party.
Yule Ball?
Like, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about.
You guys are a bunch of nerds.
So hyped. We have a wand like from Harry Potter World on our mantle at home.
Oh,
like,
nice.
We're real nerdy.
Hey, I like Harry Potter. I'm not putting it down, but you're still
we're next
a nerd.
level. Yeah, I know.
I think I'm a nerd too, but
I'm definitely a nerd.
That's pretty nerdy.
There's no world where I'm not a nerd.
I also might be attending that event though. It sounds pretty dope.
We'll have to get lit with wands and Potter things.
Butterbeer.
Yeah.
So that's something somebody told me about this. That was a big part of Harry Potter. I don't know why I don't remember Butterbeer.
Oh.
I also binge watched it.
It's just
all
I think
episodes
it's the
back to back.
easiest thing that can be converted into a Harry Potter themed something else.
What was it? It was what they
real
drank
world.
at Hogwarts, right? Or something like that.
It's somewhere. Yeah, at the bars.
In Hogwarts.
Yeah, I don't know.
Would they be called wars? Wizard bars?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think we've gone on long enough.
Yes. I think you guys tolerated us for enough time.
Yeah. Hopefully you actually got something valuable out of this one and, didn't just learn about the most humble, down-to-earth of the Kardashian sisters.
And you've mainly focused on 671 property in Toronto.
It's not every property, folks. I mean, I'm going to have every client's going to come to me now being, everyone in the world is going to be like, oh my God, you can buy property for 671?
671?
That's it? Yeah, I want it to be turnkey. And I want it to have 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and be detached and be on, Indian
And you're going to say,
Indian
keep
Grove.
drinking your butterbeer. Expeliosis, whatever.
Expelliarmus, bro.
I don't know what these.
God, I need a new co-host.
I speak English.
Jesus.
All right, you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You can check us out on our different social media platforms. Check me out on LinkedIn, Spiro Visalis, Instagram. What else am I on? I'm on everything.
All the
Facebook,
social media. Just look up Spiro Visalis at socialmedia.com.
That's probably the best way. I actually updated my picture.
It is a pretty fly self, whatever that is.
It's also
headshot.
very close up. My first one, you'll see. It's a little bit. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Deep into the pores.
Yeah, I'm sure from your earlier comment, like the 3-minute mark, I'm gonna get ripped on this podcast. I already feel it coming. But whatever, guys. Also, I'm a realtor.
If you didn't know, just in case you were unsure,
the marketing is real.
He is a realtor
and a marketer, supposedly.
I
guess you gotta be a little bit of both.
Thanks, Gary V.
Yeah. So where can they find you?
Phil at socialmedia.com.
Just look up Phil and he might be there.
I know. You might find a doctor instead.
Oh, yeah.
You might find an uncle, even. Phil Gardner, Facebook, on LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. PhilG.re on Instagram, and then Phil and the Kid on Instagram and everywhere else.
All right, Phil and the Kid.
That's it.
Bam. We're done. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes Podcasts, Google Play, Podbean, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the podcast.